Have you ever asked yourself the question, why am I always broke? Why do I keep living out the same reality as every single year? Now, if you've ever asked yourself that question, this video is going to be perfect for you on the journey. And one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video is because so many people that I've worked with over the last 13 years have struggled with this thing called money. Whether you're struggling with money and you're struggling to make money, or of the opposite extremes, you make money and you know how to make money, but there's a part of you that just doesn't know how to keep it. And you operate from that frame. When you finally get into that beautiful situation, that beautiful life that you've always wanted, you're just not content. You're understanding that this isn't good enough. You know, I'm better than this. Why am I not successful? When you look at your account and everything is actually better than it's ever been before. Now, that's actually sad in so many ways, because success without fulfillment is failure. And I've helped so many people throughout my journey help people hit that successful level, that physical world reality level where people are like, oh my God, this person's crushing it. But inside, they're not feeling like they're crushing it. Inside, they're feeling like it's not enough. Inside, they're feeling like I need to go for more. You know, this isn't enough. I'm feeling scarcity. I'm feeling fear again. And I've seen every pattern you could think of. I remember last week, I got on a call with some clients of mine, and they have a super successful business. This company brought in last month $400,000+, and now they're bringing in about $550,000 this month. And I was talking to these guys, and there was a conflict. And there was a conflict inside of them, because they were like, oh, it needs to be $1 million a month. You know, we're feeling like we're going to lose everything. Like, they're operating from this frame of they've already got so much more money than they've ever had before, yet they're in scarcity. Yet they're feeling at some level that I'm going to lose this money. You know, it's just going to go out of my fingers. And they're in this stress level. And because they're in that stress level, what do you think it's going to attract? It's going to attract circumstances and conditions that validate that over time. You know, and I told these guys, you guys 6 months ago weren't even making $100,000 a month. You've literally blown up in the tech space. And at some level you feel not good enough. Maybe something to think about. Maybe it's time to start reflecting on how far you've come. And maybe that's what you need to do watching this video right now. Maybe you are in a good, successful place. Maybe you're married, you got kids. There was a part of you maybe 5-10 years ago that would have never thought you would have what you have right now. And you could reflect and be like, holy crap, like I've actually made it a significant way in my life. Maybe I need to reflect on that. Maybe I need to start counting my assets that I have first, instead of waking up in the morning saying, what are all my liabilities? What are all my doubts and fears and worries and all these different things? Maybe it's time to start your day off feeling amazing as a first step to start getting better with this thing called money. Now, like I said, I work with so many different people. I've worked with people. I remember I worked with this client many years ago, and I was helping this guy with mindset. I was helping him grow his business. He came to me literally starting from scratch. He grew a super successful business from scratch. He was doing the inner work. He was facing his stuff. He was going out there taking massive action, doing videos, getting clients on calls, being able to close them and get them into his programs. He made so much money. He had $150,000 in his account. He'd never had that before. He was living on the beach. He had this beautiful house. He had a beautiful car. He had everything that you could think he wanted. But what happens to people when they get to that place, when they haven't worked on that underlying root? You can put a mask over anything to say, look, I'm awesome, I'm abundant. But at some level, there's going to be a time where you do get what you want. But once you get what you want, you're going to realize it's not as good as you thought it would be. And all of a sudden, the ego starts to take over. And then you start saying, it's not enough right now. I've got to make more. And this is what happened to this client. He stopped listening to my advice. He stopped doing the internal processes that got him to where he is. And he literally did it. And his ego got out of hand and he lost it all. I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to be grounded and realize that you are good enough right now as you are first, before you go out there and start chasing money. Because so many people, and I've seen it, and it happens over and over again, they finally get what they want, and then they don't feel good enough. But they always didn't feel good enough. If I reflect back on my life, so it's a little bit more personal, I remember in 2020, right before COVID happened, we're in February, I had a son on the way, my first kid. I was so excited. I was married to this beautiful woman. I had everything on the outside you would think. I looked into my bank account. I had $1.2 million. I had 4 with clients. I had everything you could think of. This was the biggest event that I was about to run. And guess what? I didn't feel enough. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel like I was doing great things. And I remember my wife after the event, because even though I did an amazing event, I did it, I felt so sad after it. And I'm like, what, is this all there is? I've got everything and this all there is? I felt so ungrateful, so not good enough, so just buried in my own victimhood. And my wife said to me, let me ask you this question. You feel so sad right now. Let's just go back 5 to 10 years ago. What would he have said to what you have in your life right now? And I reflected. And I said, he would feel like he's made it. And she said, do you feel like you've made it? And I said, I don't. Something to think about. I had to recondition my programming because I'm telling you right now, it didn't matter that I had everything that I wanted on the outside. I felt miserable on the inside. And you see this with celebrities or people. They always get to this top level, then they commit suicide. And I realized to myself, if I wasn't grateful at the start, how am I going to be grateful when you have money? And I'm telling you right now, if you don't feel good enough right now, as wherever you are financially, and you finally make that money that you want, I'm telling you right now from personal experience and from literally coaching so many people, it doesn't change anything. It changes that you have choices and you have a little bit more freedom, but it doesn't change that underlying root that you don't feel good enough. I didn't feel good enough. I dropped out of high school. I was a high school dropout. I didn't think I was a smart kid. I worked at a meat factory and I started doing all these low-level jobs that I felt that just wasn't aligned to my true purpose of where I wanted to go. And I just settled for that. And I was like, this is who I am, I guess. And I had to make a change. And that's why I was so motivated that I'm like, I've got to prove to the world that I'm good enough. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to get really good with money. I'm going to have so much money, so I'm good enough. Then I had money and I'm still not good enough. Don't fall into that program. And I'm telling you right now, your past and history is the reason you are the way you are right now. The reason I am the way I am is because of my past. And one of the reasons that I want to say is because we have a program. And this program is the routine system that happens every single day. We have 70,000 thoughts every day. Every human being has that. And 96% of those thoughts are the same as yesterday. So you are predictable in your life. So for instance, if you tell me what your last month, what you've achieved, what you've done, what you like with your relationship, what you like with money, I can predict your future. And it's not because I'm a psychic. Is because humans are predictable. I always ask at my events, if there's couples in the room, how many people in this room fight about, if they're in a relationship, the same things? There's usually like 2 to 3 things that usually couples fight about. Every person goes in the room, we know exactly. Everyone's predictable. I say, hey, if you know your wife or your husband, do you know what they're going to walk through the door like? Do you know how they're going to show up? What emotions they're going to have? How they're going to say, how are you? All of us are predictable. And once you understand this, you've got to realize if I don't change my programming now, it's not going to change if I change something on the outside. I've got to change myself now inside. And once you do that, you can pull and change and reprogram yourself the way you want to program yourself. And that is why I've got a bonus at the end of this training that goes over a programming and energetic clearing that goes back to your childhood and pulls out the cords and the programs that have been holding you back, whether it's regarding money, whether it's stuff you still have around your parents growing up, because that's where the roots and the programming started. Being able to pull those emotions out so you can actually clear up these programs. Because I don't want this just to be a video of, okay, I understand this. Well, I want to take it a next level, not just intellectualize it and embody it, but I want you to transform yourself through it. That's my mission here. I want to change you. I don't want this to just be another video where this was pretty good, next. I want it to be something where you're like inspired to be like, I want to work on myself. I want to get in a better financial situation. And I want to feel good enough to make money, but I want to feel good enough right now. Because these are the programs that start. And this between 0 and 7 is always the time where lots of things programmed into us, whether we didn't feel good enough, we didn't feel loved enough, we didn't feel deserving enough. You know, I've seen so many patterns throughout my life of doing coaching, whether it's, you know, their parents went through a divorce and it was a messy divorce, it was a painful divorce, and the kid learns in that behavior, okay, I need to avoid love because love is pain. So then you see this person that was a child go throughout their life, finally getting in a relationship, but I'll avoid commitment. Why? Because they went through a messy divorce. And a lot of the times it's like, I've got commitment issues. I don't know what the problem is. The problem is it stems back to your childhood. That's what the programming is. You know, if your father went through financial bankruptcy and he was very successful and then he lost it or whatever happened, and then the father, out of nowhere, where he has a son in front of you and he's just like, don't take risks, son. Straight away, that child is not going to take risks. He doesn't know why he's so resistant in taking risks but it came back to that childhood. I don't know what your programming is, but I want to ask you a single question about your childhood around money. And the question is this: what was the emotion that I felt from my father around money? Specifically money. This is a feeling-based process. And I usually do this with people, whether it's at my retreats or events. How did you feel? Not intellectualize. Feel around your father around money. Question yourself with that now. Maybe going to the opposite side. How did I feel being around my mum around money? Is there emotion that was unresolved? Did you feel scarcity? Did you feel certain? Could be positive, could be negative. It doesn't matter. But just realize those programs aren't yours. And until you pull the cords out and you internalize something different, you will keep playing yesterday's program. That's how this works. And that's why inner work is so incredibly important. Because I've seen people finally pull out the cords of these things and then become financially successful because they chose right from this moment, I am good enough the way I am. 400 million to one, I show up, I'm good enough as I am, and I don't need to prove anything to anyone else. And that confidence, that identity brings in money. But even when they bring in money, it's not their self-worth based on it. It's who they are. It's a different level of confidence. And that's what I want for you. But you've got to figure out where those programs started. So, are you asking yourself these questions right now? Have you asked yourself at some level, what are the emotions I'm feeling? Because remember, emotions are the driver of beliefs. The reason we have limiting beliefs around money, like money doesn't grow on trees or whatever, there was emotion behind it. So when your parents or someone around you said those statements, there was emotion that drove you to believe it. If there was a significant emotional event, you felt a little bit of embarrassment, you felt a little bit of fear or whatever, and then from that fear you said, money's hard to make. Money never comes into my life. I have a curse around money. There's certain things, there's significant emotional events we go through in our life that connect us to a belief that we hold on to for a long period of time. But we need to pull out the emotion behind it. Because if we don't clear the emotion around it, the belief is not going to let go. I've done this for so many years. I've done everything you can think of. Hypnosis, NLP, like change work, energy work. I've done it all, and I can tell you what's the most effective. And the most effective is pulling out those emotions. It's the unresolved emotions that control our life. It's not the beliefs. The beliefs are there, but it's the underlying emotion that's holding it there. So we can talk about the belief, but let's pull out the emotions. Now, the question is, how do we actually do that? Well, how you do that is there's going to be a pop-up at the end of this video, and I want you to go through it. It goes for around 25 to 30 minutes, but that 30 minutes is going to be so amazing in your life to pull out the cords finally. I'm telling you, this session in the 30 minutes will be more valuable than any coaching session that you could go through around money. Because this is the underlying root. You want to have a good money mindset. You want to feel worthy inside and deserving inside. Do that training. Now, coming back to it, the first 0 to 7 years, why do we become like our parents? Why do we start believing the things that they believe? It's because we're in a certain brainwave state. And that brainwave state is a theta brainwave state. I've done many videos on different brainwaves and things like that, so you can watch those videos. But theta brainwaves is a very suggestible brainwave state. You don't have an analytical mind. So between 0 and 7, your analytical mind is getting developed, but it's not super strong. So what happens in that time? Everything around you becomes your reality. So for instance, if your father around money is feeling scarcity, but he never talks about money. We have many people that have said, my parents never talked about money. I know that, but you felt how they felt around money. You knew if it was tight. You knew if they were in scarcity, because kids have their senses are amplified when they're kids, when they're growing. It's amplified. They feel things. Haven't you realized if you're a parent and you're fighting with your spouse, they feel it. They feel the intensity. They feel you're both quiet, you're not talking to each other. They feel that. They play up to that. They've been proven. Scientific studies where the kid's there and then all of a sudden the parents start to fight as an experiment. And all of a sudden, the body of the child goes into stress. It becomes like the environment. So if you are around your parents and they were in scarcity, they were fighting or whatever, you learn that's what it is. That's me too. This is what I need to model. You don't analyze. Because if you were 7, 8, 9, you're like, okay, my mum and dad are fighting around money or whatever it is. I understand or whatever. You can understand or analyze certain things like mum and dad are in bad moods right now. I hope they get in better moods. But the brain doesn't think like that, especially between 0 and 7. So that's why the brain's vulnerable. You're vulnerable between 0 and 7. And that's why I do the work of pulling out those cords at age because that's where the program started. Now, once you pull out those cords and you clear up the stuff around money, you have a completely different life. But you've got to change that sponge brain. My question is to you right now, do you have significant emotional events between 0 and 7? Even if you think right now, I don't know if I actually do, think about it. Ask your subconscious mind. Go back and pull out the programs. Figure out, get a piece of paper out and write down, what are my beliefs around money? What are my emotions around money? Do I believe I'm going to be rich? Do I believe I'm going to be abundant? Start challenging your programming right now. Because if you don't challenge your programming and you don't consciously sit down, guess what? You're going to keep getting what you've always got. This is the first stage of emotional maturity. Being able to be like self-aware, self-reflecting and being like, do you know what? I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. I'm going to go back and I'm going to pull out the things that no longer serve me. The more you pull out of those old programs, the more your frequency, your energy starts to operate at a higher level. The more it starts to operate at a higher level, the more impact you're going to make energetically. The more you're going to have more success in your life, love in your life, joy in your life, because you're letting go of that weight that no longer needs to be there. So, my question is to you, are you going to do the training? Are you going to follow through with it? Because if you are, please let me know in the comments by saying, I want to do it, I'm about to do it. Or also, leave me in the comments as well, what was your experience like of this process? Because I'm so excited to share this with you. And also, if you've loved this video, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like or subscribe to the channel. Everything helps me in that way. Guys, have an incredible day. Remember, you are not your programming. You can change it. We live a program, but we are not our program. If you want to have success, you've just got to program yourself for success, and you can change it like that. So guys, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Have an incredible day, and I'll talk to you all very soon.